Hi everyone, my name is Karen Hochhauser. I'm a proud alumna of New Jersey NCSY. Currently, I live in Beit Shemesh, Israel, where I'm a teacher and administrator at a wonderful, wonderful seminary called Tiferet in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And I'm so honored to have the privilege to share a few words of Torah for you on this week's Parshat VaEtchanan. We know, first of all, this Parsha is chock full of stuff. It's such a busy Parsha. This week, we're going to read about Moshe crying to Hashem to let him into the lands of Israel. We're going to read about the Arei Miklat. We're going to learn about the Aseret HaDibrot. We're going to see the first paragraph of Kriyat Shema, all things we know well. If you have a chance to look at the Parsha inside, you'll see many psukim that you know, either from davening or from songs. So it's a pasuk that's it's a Parsha that's really chock full. But I want to focus with you on one point, and it's really a theme that carries throughout the entire Parsha. Throughout the whole thing, constantly, there are warnings to Bnei Yisroel about how, if they do avodah zarah when they're living in the land of Israel, Hashem's going to get angry at them. Hashem's going to kick them out of the land. There are countless times where Moshe is basically almost begging them, please do the right thing. Remember to do the right thing. And I'd like to focus on one of those times. In Perek Daled, pasuk Chaf, the pasuk says as follows: Ki tolid banim uvnei banim, v'noshantem ba'aretz, v'hishchatem v'asitem pesel tmunat kol, v'asitem hara b'nei Hashem lokecha lahachiso. What does that pasuk mean? It means basically, when you have children and you've lived in the land for a long time, you're going to start doing avodah zarah, and Hashem is going to get angry, and then Bnei Yisrael, watch out, you're going to be in trouble. So I read a beautiful idea from David Silverberg from the Gush, from Yeshivat Har Etzion in Israel, who says as follows. He brings to light the idea of the definition of the word v'noshantem. He says it's sort of a strange word to use. The word v'noshantem comes from the word yeshan, from old. And basically what Moshe is warning Bnei Yisrael to watch out for is be careful when you age in the land of Israel, meaning when you've become established, when you've had many generations there. But what's wrong with that? Isn't that something that we hope for? Isn't that something that Moshe, as he was busy handing over the reins to Yehoshua ben Nun, that was what he was priming him for? That Bnei Yisrael should go, they should conquer the land, they should establish themselves. Each shevet would get its nachala, right? Its portion of the land where they could have businesses and farms and everything that they needed. So why are we worried about what's going to happen several generations in? So Rabbi Soloveitchik brought forth an idea that while, of course, there are many benefits that come with aging, there's something negative that comes along with it as well. And that's basically getting stuck in a routine. And it's forgetting to take the important things for what they are. And it's learning and it's beginning to take things for granted. When we age, of course, the things that happened to us yesterday, well, those are so important. But as time goes by, we forget things that happened to in our past. Imagine you're sitting at school and, unfortunately, the worst thing ever happens. We all know that in 6 months, that worst thing ever, for most people, thank God, probably is a distant memory because people move on. So this generation that Moshe is speaking to, that he says to them, you are so lucky. You're getting to do what I'm not allowed to do. You're getting to go into the Holy Land of Israel. He says, you guys are so lucky, but there's really something you have to look out for. Never forget what a bracha Eretz Yisrael is. Never forget the nisim and niflaot that it took to get there. Never forget that it's a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that gift is directly linked to Klal Yisrael, keeping the Torah, keeping the mitzvot, and having a relationship with Hashem. That's how you keep the land of Israel. But Bnei Yisrael, when you forget that, when you get sort of just so comfortable in the land that you turn around and say, hey, look at the guy to our right, look at the guys to our left. They're worshiping avodah zarah. That looks like it might be fun to do. Or to put it in a more modern context, when you say, look at the guy to my right, look at the guy to my left, he's doing things that look like they might be interesting to me, but they don't necessarily fit into the Torah framework. That's when you get in trouble. Because when a person stops to appreciate all they have, then they lose sight of what's important. So what do we do today? How do we bring this down in a practical way? I think the truth is that it's easy. Because we're living in a time where right now I'm taping this video for you on Erev Tisha B'Av. Erev Tisha B'Av in a year where I think that Klal Yisrael as a whole feels like Mashiach is knocking on the door. We see the challenges facing Bnei Yisrael right now, but we also see such a tremendous outpouring of achdut, of chesed, of love, of limud Torah, and the zechut of Chaylei Tzahal. We see all these things coming together. So what can we do? We can continue it. When we open up our Sidurim and we see psukim, when we see brachot about Eretz Yisrael, we can have kavanah when we say them. If we're fortunate enough to be in Israel, we can appreciate it and cherish it. If you've never visited the land of Israel, you can read a book about it. You can watch a movie. You can go to a shiur where you can learn more about it. And what we can all do is help contribute. We can help add to all of this, again, outpouring of chesed, love, and Torah that we see all around us. And in the zechut of that, in the merit of doing that, may this be the last Tisha B'Av that we sit on the floor crying, and the first of many days where we are dancing in the streets of Yerushalayim b'mhera b'yameinu.